Well, as Alison shares her story in the new ITV documentary, The Undercover Police Scandal, Love and Lies Exposed, she joins us now in the studio. Alison, thank you for coming in.
Pleasure.
It is a truly gripping and extraordinary documentary. We've watched it, and from start to finish, jaws on the floor, trying to comprehend what it is that you and these other women have been through. Let's just go back, though, to that time when you first met him, you first met Mark, and what was going on in your life and how he came to be a part of it.
I was a school teacher, English and Media Studies teacher, which is how I came to have that much video footage, had a video camera. I was a member of a campaigning group in Hackney. We were campaigning about anti-racism, anti-fascism, sort of things you're supposed to be against. And one day he turned up at a meeting accompanied by somebody who'd met him at a demonstration, and he said he was interested in what we were doing. Did
you think at any point, Alison, that the things that you were campaigning against were so out there that you needed undercover police, like, were the things that you were doing would be against the law or the sort of thing that would gain that sort of attention from the police?
If you're political and you're involved in political activity, particularly on the left, most people kind of thought there were undercover police at demonstrations,
right.
Maybe even at public meetings, monitoring, keeping an eye. No one expected that they were going to be in your bed and having even short-term sexual, intimate relationships. So, no, I don't think anyone thought that.
And this was the thing. I mean, this was a proper, long-term, legitimate relationship. I mean, you fell kind of head over heels for him. He moved into your house. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we were together for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was completely integrated into my life and my family. And what you see, again, from those videos, he was one of the family. It was we were planning to have children, and upsetting and distressing though that story is for me on a personal level, and was certainly when I first found out, I'm not the only one. You know, what we know is that there are more than 60 women to whom this has happened, probably more. And it wasn't, the police tried to tell us at the beginning that this was a rogue officer. And what we can see really clearly now is that this was systemic.
So when did it start to unravel then? When did you start to get suspicious?
Not until after he left. They're professional liars. They're trained, they're funded by taxpayers. We pay for this work. They have proper false passports, false national insurance numbers.
You found a credit card, though, in the coat, didn't you?
Right.
But he somehow managed to just explain that away. What happened?
Yeah, he went out one morning to get breakfast, and I thought there was something he was keeping from me. I didn't think it was this, but I thought that he maybe was involved in a group that I wasn't involved in, and I didn't know. And I looked for it. Doesn't reflect that well, but I looked in his jacket that he left behind, and I found a bank card, and it was in a different name. It was in the name of M. Jenner. And when he came back, I was like, what is this? And he said, I bought it off a bloke in a pub. It was stolen. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have done it. And I was a teacher. What do I know about buying stolen credit cards off men in pubs? I really know nothing. Yeah. So he said, I'm an idiot. Please never tell anyone. Please, I'm going to cut. I then cut it up. And that was it. And I didn't think about it again until after he left. And when he left, with a note on the table, it was like, that's not how you leave a 5-year relationship, not in my world. No. So I need to make sense of that. And to do that, I need to speak to people who knew him. That took me to looking in my address book for his grandfather's number. That was really hard scribbled out.
Because you were supposed to go and visit his grandfather. That was the one bit of family tie that you were actually supposed to go and see him. And then on the day, he just managed to say, oh, no, he's got the dates wrong. That's not right.
It became apparent that he didn't want to be found. And if someone doesn't want to be found, then that makes me ask questions like, why? What's going on?
So you've done all the detective work. You've become the sort of, as part of this group, to try and work out what it is that he was doing. It's about 25 years. Do you know, what more do you know about him now?
I know quite a lot more about him now, but in a way, it's not that I don't want to answer that question, because I think a lot of that is in the documentary that I hope people will watch. But it's not about him. He was part of a machine, if you like. He had managers. There was a back office. There was a manual that told them how to manage this deceit. And so what we found out about the whole unit is that they were hoovering up intelligence on everybody who was involved in a progressive movement. This wasn't about prosecuting people. This wasn't about putting people through the criminal justice system. This was about simply surveying. It's like the Stasi. I mean, it's not, you know, I don't want to be hyperbolic. I don't want to be alarmist.
No.
But it is akin to the Stasi. They have, you know, people will say, like, why you? What were you doing? And actually, it's like, they were doing it to everybody. They were anyone who was, if you're in CND, if you're in the anti-apartheid movement, if you're in the Socialist Workers' Party, which, you know, is a left-wing group, but they're like a placard.
Yeah.
They make placards for demonstrations.
And it basically happened to all these different women. You think there's around 60 women.
Yeah.
And it was all very, very similar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was always a chap who had a van who could go to the movements. They always left with a letter that's been written. But you were quite lucky in the fact that your life moved on and you moved forward and your circumstances changed. But there are other women that actually never went on to have children and their lives were really turned upside down and ruined.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, you know, there have been women who have had children with undercover police officers, and people are rightly horrified by that. But I think something that we don't look at so much is the women who've had their most fertile years stolen from them and lost the opportunity to have children because of those years, and also because they've had their trust so fundamentally undermined. And what we're seeing is that the unit and the police, it was the Met Police, were institutionally misogynistic and sexist. Women were used either as props to shore up these men's fake identity. I was a trusted individual. People would have assumed that because he was in my life so much, my family life, that I'd probably met his family. They were either used as props or they were specifically targeted because they were, I'm not talking about myself here so much, but they were, you know, very competent, strong activists who were targeted to be derailed and undermined, so their activity was undermined.
We've got some right to reply, which we have to offer. This is from the CPS. We wholly sympathise with the plight of those who unknowingly entered into deceptive relationships. Each case is decided on its own facts, and having carefully reviewed evidence provided by police in relation to allegations against undercover officers, we concluded our legal test for prosecution was not met in this case for any criminal offences. This is the Met Police Deputy Assistant Commissioner, John Saville. I'd like to apologise again unreservedly for the significant harm and distress caused to the women who were deceived into sexual relationships by undercover officers. These relationships were abusive, deceitful, manipulative and wrong. While it should have been obvious to all undercover officers that sexual relationships were unacceptable, the Met failed to make this clear and provide training and guidance. And then the Home Office said evidence heard by the undercover police inquiries highlighted the distressing impact undercover policing has had in the past on victims, which must never be repeated. It's important that the ongoing independent inquiry uncovers the truth. It is vital the accountability and closure victims need is delivered swiftly and fairly. Do you think you're going to get there? It's a lot of
words.
Do you think you're going to get there?
Well, I think it's very nice that they've apologised. That's lovely. Thank you very much. The CPS say that they wouldn't prosecute because these relationships were based on genuine feelings, number one. We would argue that's not the right question. It's completely irrelevant. And unfortunately, new laws have come in that have sort of reversed, have enshrined in law what we're campaigning against. So the guidelines, the police guidelines have changed to make this now unacceptable, but it's still not illegal. So
it's also cost 64 million so far. It's gone up to 100.
Between 88 and 100 million, yeah.
For the investigation.
You can watch the Undercover Police scandal, Love and Lies Exposed, on Thursday at 9 o'clock on ITV1, ITVX and STV Player. Thank you.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.